Welcome back to the Skillist podcast. I am one of your hosts, Brad Salon. Joining me is Matt Corradino.
Oh yeah, been a minute, Brad. You've been up there in the rapidly freezing north. Is it getting cold at all?
Oh, it's been
global warming.
No, it's been hot and stupid. Makes hunting prep and hunting hot and sweaty and stupid.
Are you hunting in a t-shirt? What are you doing?
I'm just prepping spots still. I'm going to be starting to hunt like this week. It just got cold, but yeah. Okay. I'm late to the game this year. I'm lucky to get any time with the two little ones.
Darn kids ruining everything. Yeah. Before you know it, they'll be out hunting. Oh, sorry. Lost my microphone.
Yeah. Yeah, man. No, it's all good. How about you? Are you been getting hit by hurricanes?
No, we've been dodging. We've been dodging hurricanes this far. Oh, let me fix my microphone before I go on. Can't live like this.
Awesome.
Sorry, I forgot how fragile this setup was. I need a new stick to hold this thing. Okay, so anyway, we have been narrowly dodging hurricanes, and we have been getting plenty of waves. Nothing great, but like been a lot of fun to be able to get in the water. So we're getting the plus without the minus. It's good thus far. You never know. There's always another one that's creeping behind the one before. Always the next one.
Yeah.
Till December, basically. But otherwise, yep, haven't gotten out to do much hunting. Well, I went and got a goat since getting back, but that was a while ago. Ramping up for my hunting class. Coming in a month. Wow, nice. Month already. So, yep. What are we talking about today?
Today we're going to take a minute to enjoy some time talking about the silliest survival legends, myths, tropes.
I don't think that's exactly how you put it to me in the text that you sent me to ask if this was the topic we were talking about. I believe it was.
Well, what did I say?
Dumbest survival bullshit. Dumbest survival bullshit.
Dumbest survival bullshit.
Should we rate it?
Dumbest survival bullshit.
Top 5.
Yes. Oh yeah.
All right. Let me just say right now that I think the greatest survival bullshit is me, basically. But I don't want to claim my fame too much in the early going here. But we could talk about the other 5. You're just gonna disclaimer
yourself there, so now you can talk shit about anything you want because you've already been like, I'm the shittiest.
Yeah, exactly.
That's your plan.
Whatever. I don't know. I'm just freeing myself up a little bit, just in case things go off the rails a little bit.
No, I think you and I have enough experience in the survival world to have been like, oh, there's a bunch of bullshit out there. And some of it I even have been guilty of myself, and I've learned like better ways of approaching things or doing things. Yeah. But,
well, so
I think
you're going to start, or am I starting?
A second to talk about that. You go ahead.
Yeah.
I've got some, see what you guys say.
Yeah, man. It's hard not to go to old reliable lean-to. Only because we were talking about doing an episode. We were talking about doing an episode. I was mentioning like most uncomfortable things that, most uncomfortable times, basically, is what I was trying to say. And times in lean-to popped in my head.
Yeah.
Like first things that popped in the head. So I think the dumbest survival BS is the lean-to. That's it.
Yeah. They're good to chill in. Like they're not a good shelter.
Okay, on a sunny, warm
but like
day.
If you already have a shelter,
yes.
No. If you already have a shelter and you need to like get up and do some shit like cooking or do some skills work, having a little lean-to near your shelter is pretty boss.
Yeah.
Trying to sleep in them is dumb. They have a big open side.
I mean, even with closed sides,
one whole
just
side
rain.
of them is,
I mean, what are you using to shingle a lean-to? I mean, to me, if it's a flatter roof, then it's a better little chill out spot. You know what I'm saying? Because then it's gonna keep especially if you have sides, like I think of a low roof, and that's got to be flatter. And so shingling that thing, it's pretty stupid in my mind,
No, the
unless you use
roof
a piece
has
of
to be a
plastic. But I don't use
45-degree
a piece of
angle.
plastic.
No, it has to
Yeah.
be a 45-degree angle, and it needs to be 18 inches of something.
Even then.
No,
What do you?
18
I mean,
inches of
bark.
leaves.
Sure. Yeah, bark is fine.
No, 18
18
inches of
inches of
leaves
leaves.
at a
I've had them. I've had
45-degree
them.
angle.
I can never get them to stop leaking somewhere for
Really?
like an appreciable amount of time. Like, okay, so I'm not going to use in survival. That's not going to happen because it's just, unless I happen to have the time and an easy building situation. But like,
Yeah, to
you're
me this
talking
is like
about
a
if you have a
like
shelter and you want to lean to outside, then I want that thing to not
yeah.
leak at all, so that I can store shit in it. And I don't know, they've always leaked, even the ones that were built properly, like with tons of bark, like they always spring leaks in places. Look at you, look at that face, look at that
I don't
face.
know.
Look at you defending the
I've had
lean-to,
some success. I've had some
defending the
successes with
lean-to.
some but
Pretty soon
no,
you're going to
not
be
as a
doing a
survival
YouTube
shelter.
video, hanging out in your lean-to in the self-feeding fire for 76 hours, and
With just the
talking
biggest
about
fucking knife.
the year
Just
you
be
spent
like,
in your lean-to. YouTube's next best video. You're the dumbest bullshit at survival, Brad. You're stupid, stupid lean-to, and you're self-feeding fire. Did I get two in, two for the price of one?
I totally made you see that the debris shelter was one of the dumbest pieces of survival bullshit.
Oh, you did. You pulled the wool over my eyes. You pulled the lean-to shaped wool from out in front of my eyes.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah, I black-pilled you
right.
on it.
Fine.
No, that was a fun one. I do think the amount of like shitty debris shelters I see being taught, fat spindles. I want to take a minute to say fuck fat spindles. I'm so sick of seeing
is that your starting? You're starting already? Is that your number one dumbest thing in survival?
I just get bothered by it. No, I was just jumping in. I just got excited. People, your spindles shouldn't be so thick.
Well, so what's your number one?
All right, what else you got?
Bring myself to defend it the way. No, you got to go next because you're in here defending the lean-to. You talk about all the bad debris huts you've seen over time. You talk about bad debris huts. How many bad lean-tos have been built in the history of stupid people?
The lean-to, we fully agree on the lean-to. Lean-tos are very dumb. I mean, yeah, I think it's honestly, here's what it is. It is a valuable form of therapy to go out into the woods and construct a fort for yourself using hand tools. I think
nature
it's
connection.
an incredible way of therapizing yourself.
Of nature connection.
Yeah, it's probably there's probably been some violent crime averted by dudes just chopping down tons of conifer trees and building
conifer trees and laying them on top of them and abandoning them at the first 7 to 12 drips in the rain. Check out this shelter that I made in the woods, you guys. Let's go hang out.
Here's something funny I thought about primitive shelters the other day. I was like, man, if Sarah and I were to build a traditional, for this region, longhouse that we could make it through the winter in, it would take months.
Why wouldn't you do that with a whole bunch of you do it with 20 other people?
Sure, but even with 20 other people, it would take a while, right? So, but hold on. Then you have a building that you can live in. We're going to pay our mortgage for another 20 years. I was like,
you're just talking about sweat equity, bro. Just talking about sweat equity now.
Just built a wigwam. What are we doing?
You're paying that primitive mortgage, bruh. You're paying that primitive mortgage. In every degenerative
disc in your lower back. It was just a funny moment to be like,
back.
Oh, that's a lot of work. And then I was like, wait a minute. I'm paying way more work.
When I think about this. Oh, man.
Okay, so here's a funny, dumb one. You can tell the direction by the fact that moss grows on the north side of the trees.
I think 60% of all orienteering like, you know, tricks end up being super dumb.
Oh,
Like
I think
that
anything other than
one.
celestial or magnetic or global positioning satellites is pretty dumb.
Yeah, straight lining or any,
Yeah.
there's
Although,
so much dumb stuff.
have you heard of the Viking sunstones?
No, I have not. They have the
There's a
sun
thing
up
called
there.
optical cap.
My
Yeah.
only
Well, that
understanding of
for half the
Vikings is
year.
like Eric the Viking. Is that the name of that movie where they never saw the sun? Anyway, dating myself. I'm an old guy. You see the gray hairs there?
You see, yeah.
Viking sunstones, you say?
There's a naturally occurring optical calcite that when you look at it, it can, and it's perpendicular to the sun, it looks different. Like if you have a mark on the back of it and then you go perpendicular to the sun the other way, and you can always tell where the sun is, even if it's cloudy or the sun is below the horizon.
Oh,
And
because of
there's
the
a
direction
guess
that the
that
light
that's like
is
how,
hitting it.
right, because it diffracts the light into two. And so depending on the angle of the sun coming in, it diffracts differently, depending, like it gets darker or lighter, more or less diffracted, depending on how the light is hitting the calcite. And so they think it's a possibility. They've found them in Viking shipwrecks, and it's like occurs in Iceland naturally. They think it might be one of the ways they got across the Atlantic.
That's pretty badass either
Um,
way, whether they used it or not. Especially,
yeah, it's
it's just
cool.
like, yeah, and it hits you in your perception there too. Because, the stone is like this like dumb object, but it can actually perceive the angle of the light, whereas on a cloudy day, you can't, even though you're way more intelligent than a rock. But
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
unless you're me,
I
dumb as a rock.
I
Come
made
on.
my
Dad
daughter a
jokes? Is it dad joke
scavenger hunt.
time?
I didn't catch it. I was too excited to tell you that I made Ash like a set of clues that ended in a piece of optical calcite for her birthday. That was fun.
Oh, sweet. Where'd you get that? You ordered it?
Yeah, dude. I did.
Nice. Optical
I
calcite. Yeah,
interneted it
well,
to myself.
that's way cooler than the moss growing on the north side of the tree. I will have you know.
Yeah,
Unless you
I
got
don't
a
want to hear it.
scale and you take an average sampling of the moss and can then determine that it's not because of the shadow of the mountain or the amount of moisture in the air. Yeah, I can't say
Yeah, I mean, or
I know
just
there's
like
been
there's so
times
many
where I've
places where the
noticed it.
trees are covered 360 in moss, like most of Vermont.
Far better. I would say you'd be far better off like paying attention to the amounts of other vegetation, like more reactive to the sun vegetation rather than
Right,
moss,
sure. I mean,
you know.
certain things like north facing slopes, like there's going to be things like that that might be more useful, but realistically, it's just like use the sun or the stars or a
Yeah,
compass.
basically.
Yeah.
But I no, honestly, I will say here a north facing slope versus a south facing slope is a pretty like or a south facing slope versus any other direction slope. Pretty massive difference. But that's like a whole community of plants that I'm looking at in that time. And that's why I say that about vegetative system. Now some places don't vary that much from one angle to the other. Huge swaths of the American West in the mountains are not going to vary that much in vegetation from one facing slope to another facing slope. I mean, maybe there's like a difference in the moss, but it's way too many other variables for that. But I would say that in some places where there's more variation, you could tell by the plant communities. But, I want to say this is kind of like an extreme case when you, because we're at the equator. That's like an extreme of the earth there. So, but
Yeah.
yeah, moss, no, I've never, I can't think of times where I've seen the moss and been like, oh, look how much more is on this side than the other side with any consistency ever.
Right. No, I think it's pretty clear. It's basically just use celestial objects, which it's fucking frightening when I teach groups of people, like kids at Ivy League colleges who don't know like where the sun is at noon. I'm like, like what? What did you say? You don't know? It's in the fucking
Are they
South.
are
Oh
they
my
flat
God.
earthers?
Uh,
Is that why they don't know?
no, they're like, no, these are like Ivy League college kids.
Because
They're super liberal. They were like,
hey, they could be flat earthers too. It's one and the
no,
same. You never
these are
know.
these, no, these, yeah, no. So anyway, um,
Mm,
yeah, so dumb navigation tricks, I would say, is pretty high up on there on like frustrating survival bullshit. I would say,
mm.
um, I think like for as
Okay.
much as I'm a gear, go ahead. You got another one?
No. You're getting into gear, so that's good. This way I can look like a dummy because I'm not not a gear guy. What were you going to say
Well,
about gear?
I would just say for as much as people fixate on gear, like it's not really as important as skill. Like
Oh no.
some things are better or worse, but really it's all about like your attitude and your skill sets, and like a hatchet that you get at Home Depot for $30 is like
Mm.
really marginally not as good as like a $300 like handmade axe. Like, you
Well, you'd
know.
much rather have the skill and the cheap, shitty axe than the good axe and not much skill to use the thing.
Right.
And I agree. I mean, gear makes a huge difference, but the more skill you have, and I believe that you build that up probably faster using primitive tools because you have to use so many different things and figure out so many like ways of holding shit and like, you got to get so creative with it that like you're far better off putting that, like putting that time into the skill usage because you get exponentially more out of a tool, whether it's a cheap, crappy tool or a really nice tool if you have the skill level,
yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
But what you gonna do? You got these freaking stupid liberal Ivy League kids buying freaking Swedish super axe when they go out to take a class at Roots, Vermont, and try to impress Brad with their knowledge of like the moss growing on the north side of the tree, helping them in their orienteering. Um, when you were I lost it. See, I should have just keep going. We gotta keep going because you reminded me of something with the stupid smart people.
Oh, I
And I
just thought
guess
of
here
another
it
one.
was
Go
was
ahead.
yeah, another survive. So attached to survival skills is nature connection, and I think it's one of the dumbest things in survival. I think it's one of the dumbest things in survival. Like uh, the idea of going out into nature for the sake of nature connection. Like I'd much rather just go without any sort of description of like when are we not connected to nature? First of all, we're alive on planet Earth. Boom, like immediately unable to get away from the forces of nature, no matter what we do. There's some force of nature that's working upon us. Period. At all times,
Yeah, but
right?
that's just a
So
semantic argument. You know what they mean by nature connection.
no. I don't believe that. If I'm going to teach somebody to go out in the woods and go and expand their awareness, and I'm going to give them a tool to do that, like listening to bird language or tracking or paying attention to how much moss is growing on the north side of the trees versus the south side of the trees, then I'm going to get them far closer
Uh-huh.
to a nature connection than I am going to be like, this sit is about nature connection, and we're going to connect nature so that we can kindle our bonds with the mother, like I just the
Who the fuck
idea
does the
of like
second one? What are you
utilizing.
talking about?
What do you
Do
mean?
people even do the second thing?
What do you mean? Oh, I think that it's implied
I
when
thought
people
nature
say
connection was the first one.
which the awareness part.
Yeah, isn't that what nature connection is?
No, I think that like the that the term nature connection is used as you bastard got me talking about nature
What?
connection. I just think that
You
it's
brought it up.
no, I think they're two different things.
So
You're
you're
all
referring to
grainy.
like the cultural mentoring
Yes.
model?
Yes, I'm
Yeah, you're
referring to the
referring to
cultural
like
mentoring
the
model.
acorn and the whole like singing and
Oh, come on.
lots
There's
of
nothing wrong with singing.
storytelling and like enforced group time wherever, and like all the enforced stuff, that like weird model. That's what you're referring to?
there's something about the idea of like recapturing something that we have lost that kind of goes against what becomes so implicit for people who actually spend time out in the woods, out in nature in some form, like end up having a far deeper understanding of their connection than anybody who's doing it to try to recapture something that we've lost. It's like I just think that the whole mentality is kind of bass backwards because it's like it's about people losing their awareness of what's actually going on around them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's not
Yeah.
necessarily like it's always been there even when you didn't realize it. So I think teaching it is like, first of all, it's like I feel like it's a detrimental to learning to learning the survival skills. I really do, because it puts it
Yeah.
in this
I feel like
like
the only way to actually
abstract
do it is by
thing.
learning the skills. Yeah.
Yes.
No,
Well,
it
and
shouldn't.
and then
Yeah.
and
It
then
removed from other stuff is very odd.
and well, yes, exactly. And that even couching it in those terms ruins it in the first place. That it's only about awareness, right? So I just, when I think of survival BS, it's like, what are things that people say and espouse as like part of the skill set? And some people do definitely. And I understand like what the idea is behind that. And I respect the idea of like, like strengthening people's relationship with nature. But like, I just think it's putting the cart before the horse.
So to
I
me,
just
it
think it's
kind of, it's
backwards.
like, yeah, it makes me think of like the idea of intentional communities, or like, when you try and force a friendship, like there's just a certain things you can't force. Like
Mm.
you can build a team, but you can't like create one. You know what I mean? Like you can't put
You
people
can't
together
create it
and like
around
say be a team. You have to like build a
no.
team by making them work together and then dealing with the bullshit that comes up and then repeating that over and over again until
Well, I
they're a
think you
team.
you gotta you gotta start with the intention before you start with the intentional community. You know what I mean?
Right. Well, and I
And I
mean,
guess
I
that's kind
think
of what I'm
like,
getting at too. You got to get at your awareness that's not open versus like trying to have a relationship with nature without realizing that you're the dumbass who's not seeing it.
right. Yeah, no, I mean, I think that I agree with you that like separating those things out, um, yeah, I don't know. I mean, I guess I feel the same way about like a lot of the more like new age spirituality stuff and how it gets wrapped into things. In that I'm
Mm,
like, there's this all breaks down the more you try, or the more you try and like build out structures for this, you know?
mm,
Like
yeah.
I think communities form, I think like relationships form. They're built over time, that you can't like take a pill or wave a
Yeah.
wand, press a button. So,
I
yeah,
mean,
I agree.
like I
Like,
said, you have to have
and
that strong
what I
intention
think is
first.
interesting though, what I think is interesting though is that the other side of the coin is like the fuck it rugged individualism, like I'm out for myself, and also
Oh
like
yeah.
nothing has any meaning beyond like what the data says, and like there is the opposite side of
Oh
the
yeah.
coin, and to me it's, that's equally as silly when it's, it's all about like what is the balance point and what works, and like with something like building community or building a relationship to a natural community, um then those things are relationship building, and I think that isn't taught enough. I think that like people don't lean hard enough into the idea of like team survival, or like doing it as a group, or what does it take to work with people in really difficult situations. Um
Probably the most important
y-
long-term survival skill you have as a human being. Well, what I was going to say,
right.
one of my other points would be, which has done far more damage in the history of survival skills as it is perceived, is like, the military manual model of survival, right? Like, even like just to say aside from all of the like garish, outlandish mistakes that are cited in so many different like, books, survival manuals that are along those lines. It's just like, as a strategy, not having any consciousness of the effect you're having on the landscape would be like a theme that runs through that type of that type of you know survival learning. That military manual, like just surviving, have the right gear, do your straight line, and get out of the place. Like, just that, like, if it's there and you can eat it, kill it. Like, there comes with it a lack of awareness that's just as bad as the lack of awareness on the other side of the coin that you're saying. So I fully agree with that. That in the history of survival, at least as it's been taught now in the European American world, it's definitely suffered from many years of like ignorant, stupid things. Like, that's that's where you read about the moss growing on the north side of the trees and using that as an orienteering point. So
I mean, that's more the older stuff. It's gotten way better.
definitely.
And I mean, in terms of the actual like primitive survival skill stuff, they don't tend to do much of, just because the reality is it's like such a low scenario,
Oh yeah.
low
Well,
probability
it doesn't.
scenario. But
I'm not. I'm not trying to say that as like it doesn't make any sense to do 90% of what I do in any sort of military setting. But I just mean, like, as it pertains to survival specifically, and the influence that it's had on
yeah,
survival, like, specifically. When you
yeah,
talk
fair
about
enough.
gear,
I
that's what
mean,
pops into my head. Like, it leads into the
right.
bushcraft, bro.
Yeah, I think all those worlds kind of touch tactical bros, and then bushcraft bros, and then, you know, weirdos,
I don't. Are you
hippies,
are you do you
freaks.
consider yourself a fence sitter? Is that what's supposed to be
Yeah, I don't
working
know.
between on this podcast here? That you're like, by the book
No,
guy, and
no,
I'm the hippy dippy.
everyone's too precious to be in some group. There was one guy who was commenting who said it looked like we had lice or something. So I think that's the category I fit into, is lice-ridden school owner.
That's not why I cut my hair. You like that?
Even with your haircut, you still look like you have lice.
Took me a half an hour to get Brad to finally actually laugh. I've been working hard this week.
Uh,
What's your next
yeah.
stupidest thing in survival that you got?
This one's a hunting one. The amount of dumb fucking ways I hear you can tell a buck is a buck is goddamn, man.
Well, you pull on his balls, and if they's dangling, that's a boy.
Just like so many people telling me, like, I've had so many dudes look at a track that was like a big deer track and be like, oh, that's a buck. And I'm like, first of all, did you measure it? Like, second of all, the cutoff between buck and doe for size is minimal. It has to be like fucking
Yeah,
huge to be cut off. And I've seen does with toes, like huge ass feet, like big old does. Yeah. So, I think
did you
the
just say
the
does
most
with
reliable
toes?
ways, does with toes, huge toes, does with toes, and bros with bows.
Yeah.
Um. So yeah, the most reliable way for me is you find a bed and you see where they peed in the middle or the edge, if it's in the snow. Or then, you know, like the androgyny of teenagers is, a problem, and that can be really hard. Once they get a bit older and more mature, then the distance between the fronts, if it's like over 8 inches, then you start to get into buck territory, like buck only. Um,
I have
obviously if
noticed
it's
that
making buck sign.
I have noticed that that the female tracks will be slightly wider in the rears, but you need to be tracking a deer in a pretty straight scenario and being able to see like repeated steps Because if a deer is turning at all, you can't really rely on the hip position. But if a deer is striding out, like is moving pretty straight and you have enough, evidence to go by, I found it to be pretty consistent.
Yeah.
But how many times are you
I find
seeing that? And usually in that
I see
scenario, you're going to see a lot of clues. Usually there's going to be another deer
well,
around, first of all.
that's really been most obvious to me when they're super pregnant and they've got like splayed out toes or like their toes have positive pitch and they have a wide straddle.
Yeah.
That's like, and
It's
I see that in the
definitely,
spring before they pop the babies out.
yeah, no, I've definitely noticed it more, especially the toes turning out. But, I tracked a ton in lots of sand and had many, many opportunities to be following deer along straight sandy path and been able to see the deer enough times to know and be able to check that one. I have seen that. But again, when is a deer going perfectly straight? Unless you're on a road, which a lot of times you can't track. It just happens to be that in the Pine Barrens, you can easily track on most of the roads. Um, but,
Right.
finding that in the woods when you're hunting, no, from one track, no way. I mean, what are you going to get? 2 tracks, 3 in a row? Maybe you'll get 4 in some places. Yeah.
And then
So
the other thing I think is super useful is just understanding like, all right, this time of year, if you see a small set of tracks moving with a large set of tracks, it's probably a yearling with its mom. And if you see a large deer moving by itself, it's either a buck or a mature female who didn't have young this year.
Yep.
So like
context and just knowledge of the animal.
Yeah, you can make some context and that's still an educated guess. I wouldn't be like, "Oh, that's a buck."
Yeah, so except
like,
for into, yeah, and then once you get after,
unless it's like
anytime
scraping or
between the
rubbing.
winter time, yeah, between the winter time and I mean, yeah, in the spring, sure, but it's like otherwise when everybody's hanging out together, knowing the difference, pretty hard. Unless you have that
Yeah.
straight set of tracks, in clear soil. That's about it. Man, the
All right,
hard part
what's
for
your
me
next
when
one?
I was just gonna say, it's hard because so many stupid things I see out there. Oh, I was gonna, I was gonna go towards gear and just the unbelievably crazy amount of like stupid little knickknacks that I see, like the little card, the survival thing card. I get it. I get it. It's a fucking card. And it's made out of some hard ass steel. And the steel is so great. And I could carry it anywhere I go. Right? Man up and carry a knife into the store. Okay. Let people look at you weird.
Get a knife.
Let people look at just carry a fucking knife with you.
What if I need a wrench that I couldn't possibly use to turn any fucking thing ever? Because
what if I'm in a jail and all I got is my wallet on me?
Oh my God, those things are amazing. Holy fuck, that's amazing! I'm so glad you mentioned that one.
Exactly, the card.
Shot a fish hook over here.
I put a fish hook in your wallet, Jimbo.
I mean, honestly,
what are you
I put
talking
magnesium.
About, Gary Gearhead. The
I
card.
put magnesium and flint and steel in the same fucking category. You telling me I need another thing?
I was gonna talk about that
Just
too.
Just carry a lighter. Just have a lighter.
Yeah, exactly.
A lighter.
Because if it gets wet, it's ruined. You can't dry it back out if it gets wet, dude. I know. Oh, really, Brad? Oh, I'm going to put it right next to my card in my wallet then. Now that you say it, that is easier.
Put it in your fucking med kit. Your med kit shouldn't be getting wet. Your med kit should be in a dry bag. God damn it. What are we doing here?
Well, med kits was next on my list. Med kits. Showing no faith. Yeah, no, the card. Big double thumbs down to the card there.
I mean, I would say med kits are...
Somebody please comment and defend your card. Please. I want to see pictures. I want to see all the cool gadgets that's on your card. I want to hear from the manufacturer.
I would say here's an amazing part of gear is how much dumb shit people carry and they don't carry med kits. Like a med kit, a compass are
where do you
like
think my joke
always
came
in
from?
every pack.
Yeah. Man.
Any celebrity branded gear, you should be goddamn ashamed of yourself. Get that shit away from me.
I don't. The stick, the walking stick with the chambered walking stick.
What? I don't even know. I don't even know what that is.
That's the only other one I could think of.
Yeah,
survival toys.
Oh, the knife with the screw-off handle.
Yeah.
that you could put it on a spear and stab a boar with it.
Just carry a knife, find a stick, tie them together. I don't know.
Yeah.
So I'm glad. I hope people who know me hit me up with some anger about me talking smack on their super gear. Come on.
I hope people just send you tons of those cards. I hope you just get those cards in the mail every goddamn week for the rest of your life.
If people send them to me, I will try to find something really stupid to do with every piece of gear and every card I get from here till eternity. I bet there's a bajillion stupid uses for those cards.
You just have to learn to throw it like Gambit.
Yes. But do you have to talk like in a really like hard to
Mon chéri.
All the people in New Orleans that I ever met talked exactly like that.
Yeah. Oh man.
All right, what you got next?
Let's see, other than bucks. Let's see. I mean, I have one that was like on the more serious side of things. I think what's interesting to me that I've like is become more abundantly clear to me and is that like there's this emotional regulation piece that like if you can't emotionally regulate moment to moment and make good like choices to do the right thing even when it's like boring or hard, that you can't like stay in the fight in that way, like you're fucked. Like so much of survival skills is just like dog work. It's like, I was setting up a hunting stand the other day and I was like, most of hunting for me is like scouting through super thick fucked up country or like cutting and dragging brush out of the way or building blinds or like it's all this like fucking work, like cutting shit out of my shot lanes or it's like survival skills. 99% of them is just like do a task over and over really carefully, or like flint napping. Like flint napping is mostly edge prep, and then you get to take these glory shots and then you're like, cool, I took 4 big shots and now I need to take 60 small shots to fix that edge again.
And I still might screw it the hell up before I get anywhere closer to finished product right now.
Right. And so to be able to do that takes a certain and fail and continue or like have things be really bad, like real survival situations where like you may actually die. There's this kind of like sense where if you can keep yourself calm or together in forward motion and making plans of like, when I get out of this situation, I'm going to do this. And when I am done with this, I'm going to do that. Or like when I get food, I'm going to eat it like this. Or when my shelter's done, or, like having that forward thinking attitude of like, I'm going to make my situation better and I'm not going to freak out and crumple and tantrum. It tends to be what I see in my learning curve and in others of like whether or not people succeed is like fucking so much about their mentality. And
so how do you see that?
Like,
how do you?
And so I see the lack of focus on that, like the amount of people who are like absolute children who don't have the ability to emotionally regulate, who like, and that's everybody at one moment or another. Like everybody has their shit.
Yeah.
Like I've had my fits too, but like I think like to not be making that a part of the study, in one way or another, or to not be calling it out, I think is part of the bullshit, or like not acknowledging it, that it's hard, that like you will be tested emotionally. People are like, I don't have emotions. The fuck you talking about? I don't get tested emotionally. And it's like, okay,
Or people
buddy.
who just want to
Like,
have other people who just want to have an adventure and don't want to hear that it's going to suck. Like it's, like it's important. A lot of people are, so you have, first of all, this ties back into what I was saying about the nature connection piece is like, it's hard. It's really fucking hard. And so you're out there connecting with nature and you feel so fulfilled and so like in touch, but then you got a lot of fucking work to do and like it demands the work. Like living in close contact with nature demands the work. It doesn't have to be never ending, especially once you get a little bit better at it, but it demands a lot of work. So like, not realizing that we're the ones not bringing something to the table is kind of a problem in that model. And it leads into exactly what you're talking about. Like it doesn't teach that emotional regulation. It doesn't really like,
right.
reply to, but also exactly what you just said about like, accepting the suck and moving through it, like accepting that you're going to be making mistakes, like accepting all those things. It's like, you, you know, uh, I guess there's also a tie into that other mentality of like that, that military mentality of like, don't acknowledge the feelings, don't actually feel like, oh, this really fucking sucks right now. Like not allowing those emotions to move. That's part of what you're talking about too. It's not just about bottling things up. It's about like accepting them and moving forward.
Well, and I don't
You
think,
know?
honestly, like the better parts of the military, I don't think they're teaching that because it doesn't work. And they need shit to
No, not
work.
at all.
Like,
Well, and again, I'm not talking
so,
about the military specifically. I'm
so
just talking about like that mode of like that school, that old
sure,
school of
sure,
survival,
that like,
how it applies to
right,
survival.
right,
Hyper
right,
dude brain.
sure. Right. And that stuff also was like not real. Like it was Rambo, like it wasn't
Exactly.
tested
Yeah, the
or,
cool card.
applied. Right. Cause like when you apply it, you're like, oh, if I don't figure out finesse and efficiency, I'm fucked. Like you can't brute
Mm-hmm.
force your way through everything. It's nice to have extra horsepower when you need it to just be like, you know what? I'm going to like power my way through something that could be done better. But it also is like a necessity that you learn the better way to do it, or your sustainability is very limited.
Yeah, you need to know when to apply
So,
the brute force.
yeah.
Sure.
And like what exactly you can get away with before you break your shit, like yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Because I've seen that too.
Yeah.
Like people are used to getting away with that brute force. And then, I mean, that's the thing about like these skills are awesome in that like nature is fucking unrelenting and it doesn't give a shit about you and it doesn't give a shit what, like how you feel. And so like you have to accept it and operate and adapt based on what its feedback is from your behavior. And that means like there's something amazing about that in being a mirror, for yourself, like because it just is what it is. Then like the hardship largely is going to be how you react to it, not it. Like it just is what
Mm-hmm.
it is, and if it's gonna suck, it's because you made it suck by bitching about it or being upset and not just accepting
Mm-hmm.
it and having that attitude of like, you can be like, yeah, this is not ideal. This fucking sucks. But it's like, well, I'm going to turn this suckiness into something good with an attitudinal positional change. And that shit, like, it is survival skills 101 to me. It is so important to be able to like acknowledge a sucky thing that happened or be like, oh, I left my thing a mile back at camp. Well, at least I'm going to know the trail really well, or at least I'm going to have the opportunity to look for mushrooms on the way or like whatever, like to be able to constantly be keeping yourself in good morale by shifting your perspective towards like, how am I going to make the best of this, not in like a bullshit way, but in like an this is my only option way. I think that shit is like, it's fundamental to actual survival. And
when you talk about
whatever, like,
oh, sorry.
No, and so like where
I
I see the bullshit part of this is like any focus other than that. You know, it's like I saw somebody who is that dude, Mike Glover. I don't agree with a lot of what he says, but he was talking about how like folks will come to his shooting class and like they're all like hyped up on their tactical pistols and their shooting skills, but they can't run, you know, an 8-minute mile. And like, you know, some people sure will never run an 8-minute mile because their body's wrecked. But if your body isn't wrecked and you just don't have any fitness, then like it is silly to not include fitness as a part of your training if you're concerned with like being able to protect yourself. Because like just being able to run somewhere is
not even just
good.
for that, but if you want to be able to feed if you want to be able to feed yourself, you have to have fitness.
Right, but yeah, exactly. I mean, there's a million amazing reasons to have fitness. Right.
Period.
But like, I think it's a good point that like the baby or like people fixate on the wrong part. And with these skills, like people jump past the basics way too fast.
Well,
and if you don't have like a good ability, right. Exactly. So, and I guess that's what it is like the flashy shit is bullshit.
Yep. Well, when you were talking about that, you know, just about that, the relentlessness of nature, and I think the way I tend to approach that for myself as well as teaching these skills is that you know, it's demand. First of all, it's not necessarily that it's relentless against us, but that it's like demanding a lot of us and sharpening us in that way. And like what is it is demanding of us, or the way that we find, you know, the way to approach it is to find where is my space here, right? At the same time that nature is relentless, it's also like relentlessly giving us a space. It's relentlessly like providing resources for us. It's about how do we find the space. We might think about it as like, I want the glory shot and shoot the big buck and, you know, have a bunch of, you know, meat in the smokehouse, but it might be fucking digging up those tubers, or might be picking up those, you know, cicadas and freaking roasting them suckers and plucking wings. You know, it's like, you have to be able to find that space where nature is allowing you to move, as opposed to just looking at it as like, God damn, it's another thing I have to overcome. Right. And I think that's like an important part of this. Hard part is actually teaching that, but all you can do is just tell people that, look, you know, there's what is it that makes the most sense that you can do to improve your situation. It doesn't have to be like the glory thing, and focusing on that from the outset definitely stunts people, right? Like, you know, I want to immediately get into bow hunting and shoot deer to get better at survival. Well, I might not get much better at survival because I might be better off like building 30 shelters and sleeping in them until I'm finally warm, or, you know, keep doing bow drill and hand drill and whatever else you want to do in all adverse conditions, rather than like, you know, making the really cool ass baskets. You know, so it's like just, yes, I agree with you. It's like doing those gritty things is really important, and people definitely, I think that people wanting to go to those more advanced skills early ties into that mindset piece. It's like people don't necessarily want to slog through a bunch of bullshit, you know. Emotionally, it's hard. You know, so like I think, you know, it's definitely something to look for as if you're teaching people, especially because, you know, you can see those tendencies towards that mindset in the way people approach what they want to learn and how they want to learn it. Kind of trying to remind people, because I've seen definitely plenty of times where people are like, oh, super into the skills and like want to build the shelters, and they practice stuff like in their backyard, or, you know, like every day they bust out the, you know, the cool looking fire making method and do that. But then it's like they go out and they do a survival trip together. And that first time it really, really sucks. People will fucking just fold and just not really be into it so much anymore. Maybe they'll still keep at it, but keep at it here and there. And it doesn't have the same sort of luster it did at first, you know? And I think that you could notice that before you got to that point. But I do think it turns a lot of people away, you know? Sometimes you got to have lice in your hair.
I think that's
right?
true with the skills in general. Yeah, I think like that's. I mean, I see people at basket classes even be like, "Fuck, this is way harder than I thought." You know, like.
Oh, that's the number
Or
one
my
thing people
thumbs hurt.
say.
Yeah.
Or my hands are totally retarded.
Right. Yeah, that's so funny. There was a woman who said that at class the other day, and it was like everyone was like, and she was like, "Whatever."
You can't say that
they
word.
It was hilarious.
Look at them. They you see, I stopped myself.
yeah. It was hilarious. Just so good. Yeah.
Let's
so
not edit. Let's not edit that out, shall we? We almost went down that rabbit hole, Brad, but I stopped myself once again.
Yeah. No, we're good. What else is bullshit?
I was talking to somebody the other day about this, and he brought up caches, which I thought was an interesting thing to bring up, and I can't think of any time. I mean, I've like messed around with basically making a cache in my shelter area, and it was fucking hard, dude. It was hard.
You mean to keep
primitively.
animals
Holy
out of it?
smokes. To keep animals out of it, to keep water out of it, to keep like mold from taking over in there, to keep mice from moving in right next door, you name the problem. I've had it. Right? Maybe I'm not digging the hole deep enough. Maybe I need to dig it like 6, 8 feet.
Are you talking specifically about food storage?
You know, I think he was talking more about food storage, and I actually saw like the intelligence in that, and I was thinking that, like, you know, if you're gonna like, if I'm gonna bother with caches, I'm gonna keep them super fucking simple, and I'm gonna put tools in them. And I'm gonna spend more of my time. I'm not saying it wouldn't be a good skill to be able to cache a bunch of food, but I just picturing in my mind, like, as a survival skill, like, when would I need that is when I'd had a lot of food and I had enough to need to stuff it somewhere so I could come back for it later. Right. As opposed to just carrying it with me. But man, caching
I think
tools
those are
would
the
make
kind
a
of
whole
cultural
ton of sense.
technologies that are like, right. I think those are the cultural technologies that have been lost in a way that's like fucking brutal. You know,
so
like,
brutal. So brutal.
That's
and it's probably you probably couldn't. They probably couldn't have described why it works. You know,
right?
But they figured out
fermentation
how
was
it
probably
works somehow.
really widely used.
Insanely.
You know, salting was probably super heavily used, and then like drying and stacking things with like plants that will throw off the scent. You know, so like layering in aromatic herbs into like a food cache to keep mice out of it, and then like making a basket so tight, or like packing wood in so tight, or whatever the fuck was done. Like, I'm sure there were these like technologies that were designed around like, how do we actually do this? Because there's no way that like
it was
people
designed. It was designed around like plenty too, times of plenty.
Well, right. Like, you couldn't let an acorn harvest go without like trying to save as much of it as possible. Or like, you couldn't let the rut go where the deer like much easier to kill, you know, whatever. Like, you can't let those like moments of like a fish run go by without having methodologies for preserving. But that's like a culture, like an intact cultural knowledge that, that's like what we would ideally be reclaiming by working these skills long enough, and like getting good at them and then passing them on to people in an open way, so that the next group of people coming through is better at it and works more advanced shit than us, until we like regain some of that skill set.
You brought something up there that is something that I like often mention to people about when they do come for a survival trip specifically. And people, you invariably get a comment at some point like, man, this is hard. Like, I didn't realize how hard this was going to be. And something that you said in there is also really important, where it's like, yeah, but if we were out here longer, we would get better. Like, we'd get way better at it, you
Yeah.
know? And it's
Yeah,
like
for
an
sure.
important thing to keep in mind. It's part of what keeps you going, despite like numerous fuck ups, like all those times of mistakes, which happen repeatedly, like constantly. Um, but just knowing that eventually you'll get better. And that whole piece of the greater the need, the greater the result. If you really needed it, you'd probably find a way, and then your needs would change, and you'd be like, okay, now I need it more efficiently. And you probably find a way to do that. And then, okay, now I need it even more efficiently. You probably find a way to do that. But usually we don't have quite those stringent of needs. So we get so far with skill until we're ready to really dive in more. Which is tough when you got kids.
Right.
It's hard to get that time.
Yeah. I mean, you're coming out of it a little bit, right? Please tell me you're spending less time parenting than you were.
Yes. Oh, dude, the other day I watched my daughter paddle into a wave and turn and go down the line and then stand up on the board with style. I was like, I'm done. It's over. It's finally super cool. No, it's great. It's great. Yeah, and they're into it. It's so cool to watch my kids with skills. So freaking easy for them to pick it up so early in life and be able to just watching Leo carve. I'm just like, damn, dude, it's good. Like, he's really freaking good at carving for a freaking 7-year-old. He can really, really throw some wood around, freaking been cool. Yep. Love it. Yeah. It's good.
Yeah, dude.
Pretty soon we'll be
and
doing
did the,
survival trips more than 2 days.
Yeah. We went and did the fucking Vermont corn maze thing. And Ash was like, well, we need to go east that way. And Sarah's like, how do you know that? She's like, because the sun is in the south right now. And it was just this moment of like, oh, my little child.
I'm looking at the arrangement of the lichens on the corn stalks, Daddy. The lichens grow on the north side of the corn stalks. This is the south side.
But this wood sprite here told me. Yeah. Hilarious.
Ronan's like, still beaming from creator, must eat own poop.
So man.
Good. Yep. Got any more? You got any more zingers, things that are total survival bullshit there? Before we wrap this sucker up?
No, I mean, there's so many I can't even, those are my top ones. This can be a round one. We got to some of the bigger, better ones.
Should we be meaner?
Big dumb knives.
Make this more funny. Big dumb knives.
Big dumb knives. I would say, even for fighting, they're not that good.
Heavier. Oh man, what do you need besides a machete? If you're gonna, if I'm not gonna go big dumb knife, I'm gonna go machete first.
Sure. Yeah, that's a different tool.
Not even much
chopping
more weight
tools are great.
Yeah. And I mean, that's most of the time big dumb knives, they get chopped pretty okay, but the weight is usually way off for chopping. And then for carving, it's not as easy to carve with. Yeah, I don't get it. I don't get it.
Yeah, small, sharp, and sturdy. That's what a knife should be.
I like it. Yeah, well, a nice thin blade. One thing I will say for the long knife is for hunting, if you have to kill the animal quicker, nice to have a long blade cut throat with. Does make it much easier in the field, I will say. It's not what I'm looking to do. Goats or even a deer, why if it's a bad shot and the deer can't get away. I mean, the times that I had the times that I would have had the chance when there was an injured deer. Yeah, it's just nice to have a longer blade, that's all. I do both.
It's only that deep in.
Depending on. Yeah, I know, but to have the long blades, whatever, you hater. What do you know?
You go all the way across. I go in
It depends. Yeah, I've just had it take longer that time. I kind of do both. I do a little bit of everything with that. I don't know. I just like to have the long blade for cutting throats. Even if I am going inside out, just it's easier one single push to go further through, Anyway, We can
Word.
we can hate on big dumb knives another time. Is that it? Is that it? We're done? That's it, isn't it? Brad's got to go.
All
Thanks
right.
for listening.
Until
Hit
next
us up with a
time.
comment. Talk some shit on our shit talking. Do the thing.
Yeah, question us up. We're happy to answer.
Do it.
Bye-bye.
Adios.